And this song is really a song, it relates to my own life because I'm writing about my own experiences, but I think it relates to all of our lives because the scripture says, all we like sheep have gone astray, we have turned everyone to his own way, and the Lord has laid upon him the iniquity of us all. Each one of us must recognize that we are that prodigal son. Sailing through life, endlessly roam, looking for love no one has shown, lost in life's storms, chilled by its cold, darkness and mist around you enfold. The Father is watching you roam, just longing to take you back home. You thought you would set your sail to the west, follow the wind, riding its crest, finding your place in another man's land, selling your soul to the enemy's hand. The Father is watching you roam, just longing to take you back home. The enemy's wrath, the enemy's cruel, offering freedom, the freedom of fools, leaving you there, bleeding and bruised. He doesn't care once you've been used. Jesus is watching you bleed, just longing to tend to your need. Whose is this hand that tenderly holds? Who in his arms gently enfolds, carries you home, weeps for your pains? Look at his hands stained with your bloody stains. Jesus from you never roams. Oh, won't you make him your home? The Father from you never roams. Oh, won't you make him your home? So I went through life chasing rabbits, and you know, for me it was athletics, art, career in art and athletics, and when I lay down at night, I was filled with anxiety because after I'd achieved something, the next day I had to start all over again because there was always somebody waiting to beat me. You know, like those gunslingers in the Old West. If you were the fastest on the draw, it was only a matter of time before somebody else was faster than you. He who lives by the sword dies by the sword, and he who lives by selfish ambition will die from the anxiety of living by selfish ambition. And that's what my life was. I lived in fear that I would get an injury or something would end my career as a distance runner, because after all my investment, energy, everything I had was in that area in life. And I knew how transient it was. Jesus said, do not lay up treasures for yourselves on earth where rust corrupts, but lay up for yourselves treasures in heaven. But I didn't know how to do that, really. From the religion I had grown up with, they taught you that if you try hard enough and do enough good things, then you'll lay up treasures in heaven. But it doesn't seem to work that way, no matter how hard we try. Jesus said, easier for what? A rich man or a camel to enter through the eye of a needle than a rich man to enter heaven. There's something Jesus said that's very important. He says, unless a seed falls into the ground and dies, it cannot bring forth life. Now, what did he mean? Think about that. Unless a seed falls into the ground and dies, until we realize that the good works that we can muster in our natural self have to die, we have to realize that they're all corrupted, that we can't obtain the treasures of heaven with our own natural goodness, that we have to die and realize all flesh is grass, and all the goodliness thereof of man is as the flower of the field. The grass withers, the flowers fade, but the word of the Lord alone endures forever. And Jesus said, you must be born again. You must receive the manna that comes down from above. You must receive my righteousness and be born again with a new principle in the soul. When I finally came to America and somebody gave me a Bible because I was trying to argue philosophy with them, and they said, where did you get that idea from? And I said, well, I don't know, it just seemed like that seems right. And they said, you mean you just sort of feel like it's right, you don't have any basis? And I said, no. And they said, well, here's a Bible, read it, because you're arguing about stuff that this book talks about. I said, okay, well, never thought of that. We didn't have Bibles where I went to church, We had a little piece of paper with things printed on there that we were supposed to read, and that was it. We didn't have a Bible in your hand. I didn't know what a Bible really was. I thought Genesis was a rock group, at least it was when I was young. So I'm serious. You think I'm joking? I'm absolutely serious. Genesis to me was a rock group. I didn't know where the name came from. Never seen a Bible. Okay, but I opened the book of Genesis and began to read the sacred word, and it began to have an impact in my life. And I read through all that Old Testament and learned of the great stories of how God delivered an oppressed people. And those stories are there for a reason, because we're all oppressed by Egypt, aren't we? Egypt is there for each one of us. The Pharaoh of this world is there. The great enemy of souls is there to oppress us. And we've all been oppressed, have we not? Sometimes by our own selves we've oppressed ourselves, and other times we've come under his power. But